Empowering women means that you give them the opportunity to be what they want to be, but first show them what is possible.
I think it's important to empower women in technology and business because we need a different point of view. I think being in the space for a few years now, you do see that you have majority of men who are doing a fantastic job. But I think we also need a different perspective, right? Like when we're sitting in our tech meetings, when we're sitting in our product planning meetings, we're sitting in our finance meetings, we need to have that female perspective. We need to be able to balance each other, a yin and yang perspective, and make sure that we're bringing women's voices in, but also bringing their talents in.
Gender equality is just about equal consideration for men and women, right? And it's as simple as that. Equal opportunity, equal consideration, just equality in terms of how we approach, I guess, the chances that both genders are given, right? Don't disqualify or disparage anybody just because they're a woman or even just because they're a man. And there is no reason to also kind of like prefer someone for X just because they're a man or just because they're a woman. It's just really important that it be the best person for the job versus this is the gender for the job.
Women are a force and they bring like fresh perspective to meeting their needs in society and also to problem-solving solutions. So it's important to empower women to have more participation in technology and in business.
Gender equality for me looks like a world where women have the options to be whoever they want to be without being judged for it and without negative repercussions. So, for example, a woman could be a CEO and choose to be a CEO. A woman could choose to have a PhD. A woman could choose to stay at home, and she can do all these things without repercussions of being judged to be a certain way.
Women in Africa need access to funding, need their fundamental human rights protected and at all costs. We need to go back to some of the laws and actually edit them and rework them for this century and empower our women, to have access to basic human rights, to have access to the funding, to have access to basic rights that they should have access to.
I come from Ethiopia, a very traditional background, but because of my parents, I was very empowered to be able to think for myself, to go and build my career, to go and explore and take advantage of the knowledge that I had. But I do recognize that that's not a privilege afforded to every girl or to every woman. And so for us from like the tech space, what we need to do is to make sure that we show that these opportunities exist, to reach a hand out and make sure that we're supporting women get to where they want to go.
Participation and taking your best foot forward involves comprehends everybody being involved, right? If Africa continues to move with only half, which is when we disenfranchise women or don't care about their enfranchisement, right? We're moving with only 50% of our abilities, right? And so I think it's important that for us to be able to skip, we need to skip leaps and bounds, right? Like in terms of industrial or tech revolutions, Africa is behind. Right, and we're supposed to be trying to leapfrog or whatever the big press and journalists say to get to where the rest of the world is in 2023 or 2024. To do that, we need everybody working, right? African women have historically worked, right? They run businesses, small businesses, side businesses. So that means that if we invest in their empowerment, we'd be doing more for ourselves. For me, it's kind of like a net economic positive. This isn't. It's not really like a charitable endeavor where you're like, here's some grants. No, if you give people capital to run businesses, it improves the economy. So I think it's an economic endeavor just generally, and it helps move Africa to where we want it to be as a continent.
I feel very empowered when I can move from point A to point B. I can see that I used to be at 0, now I'm at 1 or I'm at 100.
So what makes me feel empowered is setting goals and smashing them for myself, because I recognize that I can actually do almost anything that I set my mind to, and I'm constantly reminded of that.
I feel empowered when I have control over my decision making, when I have access to more responsibilities, and when I'm just hard out.
In my own case, what makes me feel empowered is knowing that I can make a change I can contribute to my world, I can contribute to my society, that my work is valued and I matter. So that makes me feel empowered.
I think what first motivates me is I always remember why I started. The second thing that motivates me is the support system I have. I think I'm surrounded by people who I like to say are interested in me succeed. And when you have people like that surrounding you, and I think that's my hope for women today, is to have women and people who genuinely want you to succeed. And success not by the trappings of what we call success, success not just by money, but just success about the fact that you're genuinely happy, you're genuinely working in your purpose.
So one main thing that keeps me motivated would be just remembering why I started in the first place, right? And the main thing for me is I really want to see an Africa that is able to solve its own healthcare problems.
I think true change really starts from a behavior or from a mindset, and it really starts from how us as a full population look at women and look at women in gender roles. And I think that true change can only be had once we're able to break down those barriers and really understand where our biases sit. How do we enact our biases on a daily basis? So for me, that would be really from a behavioral aspect.
This is International Women's Day. I, I think true change will be, I think, a more positive outlook on what feminism should really be. I think feminism has been misunderstood, sometimes abused, but the fundamentals of feminism is important, right? It's truly important, and it makes me very sad how a lot more on both sides, on both even the women's side and the men's side, have taken over what this true and important concept is. So true change for me will be first being able to identify as feminist and not look like a man hater. Being able to identify feminist and be loving to men. Being able to identify as feminist and not turn it into a gender war.
One thing that makes me extremely sad and happy at the same time is to see many women in the diaspora who are breaking so many barriers, who are smashing through glass ceilings, who actually quite often left, if their parents had not immigrated, or if they themselves had not immigrated, they would not have been able to achieve those goals or smash those ceilings. There are many problems going on in Africa that I have never experienced, while there are certain problems that I have. And I really hope that more women have the opportunity to really bring to the forefront issues for more people so that the world can overall become a better place.
I think it's important that we recognize that ability isn't gendered, right? Ability isn't gendered, and beyond wanting to build like one of the largest fintech companies on the continent, beyond wanting to build a VC firm, it's leveling the playing field for people who look like me. So that's really one of like my own personal like goals, is how do I make sure that every initiative is somehow, one way or the other, helping people who look like me have a better life, imagine better for themselves, do better for themselves. So I suppose that's one thing, but
I look at the women who came like before us and the women who come after us, and I know that that representation really, really matters to them. So essentially, building my legacy so that I can create opportunities for the women who will come after us. Happy International Women's Day.
I just want to wish every woman out there happy International Women's Day.
I'd like to wish you a happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day. The theme for this year is innovation and technology for gender equality. We want to see more women in tech get more funding. We want to see growth and expansion.
I want to say a big happy International Women's Day to all the women out there today. I want to say I see you. I see the hard work. I see, the burden that you share. I see every single struggle that you go through. And I want to tell you that you're not alone. You have a community of women everywhere as well who are willing to support you. So please do not be afraid to ask for help. And just know that we've got this, right? So happy International Women's Day.